What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto became the lover of every S-rank Kunoichi in the bingo book? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. All he wanted was acceptance but never got it, instead he got scorned, and hated even more. The village was in trouble. Akatsuki's pain entered to the village in search for him and at that time he was away. Upon arriving he saw everyone he cared about in the brink of death. Sakura, Ino, Hinata were at their limit trying to save the injured. The Junins were also at their limit fighting the seemingly undefeatable Pain. Naruto in Pain fought a heated battle, where even with Sage Mode Naruto was in trouble. Naruto single-handedly killed 5 of Pain's bodies until the last one threw that weird chakra disruptor weapon to Hinata. Naruto reacted so fast nobody saw what he was doing until it was too late. Hinata got pushed to the side by Naruto and he got the blow for her. Everyone was shocked at the time as they all saw Naruto being hurled into the air and thrown back several meters until he stopped in a pile of rubble. While the last Pain and his partner Konan began to walk to the Jinchuriki, most of his friends tried to defend him but were quickly brought down by Konan's paper jutsu. Naruto finally got the weapon out of his body and pushed his body to the limit with the half-complete Hiraishin. He killed both Akatsuki. Everyone for the most part were relieved and Naruto was being helped by his friends when disaster struck. Sasuke attacked the village engulfing everything in black flames and the amount of people that were hurt double in death. Naruto seeing this thought back at his conversation with Itachi. Sasuke, I never thought you would do this. But why? The broken boy thought as he saw the destruction his friend was making. Damn it, just what we need, everyone fight to kill, Tsunade yelled to every shinobi in hearing range. Naruto and Sakura were shocked at her decision but knew they couldn't do anything about it, or could they? No, let me up, Naruto wrestled with the ones helping him as he got up. I'll fight him, just watch, Naruto said to the others as he closed his eyes and concentrated. Naruto, as Hokage I order you to stop what you're doing. I know he's your friend but he's attacking the village and killing people, the village comes first, the Hokage finished in a softer tone. Suddenly everyone felt the huge power increase in Naruto and those who didn't know were scared. Naruto reached deep down in him and the energy he received was twice as powerful as he expected. Minor to mild wounds were healing and the major ones were stabilizing. The chakra was so powerful it formed a shockwave and cracked the ground. Everyone present saw a fiery red chakra and panicked. Yamato started to do some seals when, "No Yamato Taiko, I can handle it," Naruto said looking back at the Junin. He had the power of 2 tails but quickly shot it down to none. I'll stop Sasuke without killing him and then you'll have your answer as to why he attacked. Fine, but don't you think this is a little overboard? You just defeated Pain, Tsunade said with concern in her voice. She considered this boy like a brother did, just became a man and watched as he prepared for another battle. Before he left he summoned up a huge load of chakra and made hundreds of clones in the purpose of search the injured and seal the flames, like Jiraiya those years ago. Leaping away to meet with his former friend and teammate he thought of how to bring him down without killing him. Reaching his destination he saw Sasuke with his team on the top of the Hokage mountain. All of them wore sadistic faces except a kid-looking one. His blood began to boil as he saw Sasuke clutching one of his eye but still had that arrogant smirk. Sasuke enjoyed every scream he heard and every person that fell, that meant that his revenge was taking effect. He suddenly felt the strongest killer intent he ever felt and it actually paralyzed him from fear. Activating his Sharingan and flaring up his own chakra he localized the source of the disturbance. Naruto was standing on top of a building in front of the mountain looking at them with such ferocity everyone but Sasuke flinched. I guess you had to arrive and spoil my fun, huh? Sasuke said tensing as he watched his former friend glare. It looks like you went through hell, he smirked as he saw his torn and bleeding clothes. I guess you can say that. I finished up an enemy, what have you been doing? The last time I've heard of you. You killed your brother, Naruto said in hopes of getting information but regretted his question when saw Sasuke's eyes fill with malice. Me killed him? No, it was this village who killed him and now they are going to feel a little of my hate, Sasuke said with such hatred Naruto got a bad feeling. I guess you are a hypocrite, you betrayed us for power to kill him and now that you did you're blaming this village. Sasuke, when will your vengeance stop? Naruto yelled at the Uchiha in desperation and trying to understand why he was doing all this. "Just shut up, Dobi, you'll be dying like everyone here," Sasuke said as he activated Chidori and extended to the Jinchuriki, only to find him gone. "What? Where?" "Right here." Naruto was on the top of the fourth's head and looked at his former teammate. "I had a talk with your brother before I heard you killed him. He asked me what would be action when the possibility of you attacking Konoha. I guess he knew you more than you think," Naruto said and had to leap away as Sasuke launched several dragons at him. The fight in general wasn't too big since Sasuke pushed himself to his limits, producing 3 Amaterasus that left him wreck. His teammates fought for him and Naruto, who was tired from Pain's fight, gathered Kyuubi's chakra to take them down. Team Hawk soon realized they were fighting another Jinchuriki and this one was more savage. Sasuke seeing this, he sped down to the field and got in front of Naruto and went inside his head like last time. This time around though he didn't expect Naruto to actually kick him out of it. Fighting him a bit more and launching several more Kaiden jutsus, he was starting to feel tired. Sasuke realized something. He didn't felt the heat anymore. Looking around he saw nothing, no black flames, no more destruction, and then he saw his team being restrained by wood and Anbu appeared with chakra suppressor seals. Sasuke was about to make a run for it when a punch came out of nowhere and knocked him out. After the Akatsuki and Sasuke incident, the village was back to normal in a matter of weeks. Bewheeling were already being restored, people were beginning to heal and get in active duty missions. Sasuke explained why he attacked and the elders were put in prison. Naruto had a very long talk to try and reason with the boy and they did. The other members of Team Hawk were put in prison with Sasuke with the time being. Tsunade was getting a headache as the problems were taking turns. After a month of construction, the village looked half normal. The buildings had already parts of them done and the streets were finally clean and the destruction caused by the flames was almost done. Sasuke was in probation now along with Karen, Suigetsu and Jugo, and they weren't greeted too nicely. The only one, Sakura and Kakashi, even if Karen and Sakura got in fights a lot and Kakashi was there because he wanted to see how Sasuke was managing. But no one thought about Naruto. Naruto was doing everything in his power not to fall in depression. Seeing how Sakura and that traitor were having a perfect time together, sure he was jealous, but that feeling was replaced with depression when a few of his friends ignored him a few days ago even after calling up to them. Kiba the jerk glared at him and his dog prepared to fight him as he asked him something. The others were a bit edgy around him and even if he didn't show it, the pain in his heart was getting stronger. Not liking the awkwardness, he flees to the training grounds or his house. He can't bear to see the looks he gets from them, his so-called friends. Time went by and the only missions he did was with Kakashi or Yamato, but they too were distant. Kakashi was with Sasuke as much as Sakura and Yamato was in Anbu, enough said. Sakura forgot way to easy her blonde friend, and stuck to the traitor every day trying like 2 years ago to win his heart. Sasuke was enjoying her company no because he liked her but because he liked to torture Naruto, but this didn't affect him because he gave her up a long time ago. Naruto was sad not because of Sakura's affection to Sasuke but because she hadn't visited even once and how quick she seemed to forget he almost destroyed the village. "I brought him back, even if he showed up in the village, it was to destroy it. I was the one who fought him and distracted enough for Granny to whack him," the broken boy thought as to why not even a single thank you from his friend. What a shallow girl, and my so-called friends, the look of fear and some with hatred, I saved the village. But of course if it weren't for me they wouldn't have attacked, he kept reasoning with himself. Here I am a Sannin-level ninja and depressed because some idiots are not paying attention to me, but I always wanted attention, recognition, he thought sadly as he saw from his window Team 8 and he heard Kiba's big mouth yelling at Hinata about me being a monster and they all looked to see me by the balcony and Kiba glared at me but I glared at him back and he was shocked to feel killing intent. I guess I gave them even more reason to hate the demon boy, Naruto said as he watched them leave in a hurry. Hinata glanced back at him and he felt something he never felt before, but dismissed it. Hinata felt so useless, she didn't thought of Naruto as a monster but a hero, who didn't just save the village from pain but has saved the village since birth. The Hyuga clan saw Naruto as a hero, also knowing jail from jailer, and respected him for his sacrifice. She wanted so much to go and comfort him but she couldn't, she was too shy and timid. "I'll go anyway and try to know if he's okay," She reasoned with herself as she gathered all the courage she could muster and got out of the compound. Screw it, I don't want to be in a loveless village. My friends fear me, my last living sensei is not here but with a traitor, and the only girl I got to know well as a sister forgot about me, Naruto said, readying his backpack. Leave, there's a possibility the remaining Akatsuki would come after me and they could attack the village, he walked around thinking. Even if this village deserves to be destroyed because of its shallow people, I don't want anything to happen to them because of me. I'll leave, he said as he opened the door but found his way being blocked by a beautiful pale-skinned girl with indigo black hair. Hinata, what are you doing here? He asked, a bit surprised to find her here after this afternoon glare match with her teammate. Naruto, I was just trying to see if you were okay, Hinata stammered as she looked at his face. Naruto had an empty look in his eyes and was more pale than usual. His face was hardened like a warrior who has seen too many battles. I'm okay, Hinata. I'm glad you cared, but I must go to my mission, Naruto lied to the girl. He couldn't believe this girl came all the way here to see if he was okay, a trick? No, she didn't look like that type of person, but alas, his decision was made, and 2 or 3 people wasn't enough for him to stat anyway. Well, I came to say sorry for the way Kiba acted earlier, it's just that a few clansmen and his dad died fighting the Emin and… Hinata was interrupted when Naruto raised his palm. Hinata, you don't have to apologize for anything, people are shallow, they can't see past a jail and jump to the conclusion that it's bad as the prisoner, Naruto said, looking at the now blushing girl. Cute. Sadly, I must leave to protect her and everyone, also because being in this village is frustrating. I'm sorry, he said as Hinata lost consciousness. Grabbing the girl before she hit the ground, he made a shadow clone to take her home as he made his way out. I'll miss this place, but at the same time I'm glad. I haven't seen a few people since the pervert's training, he said, grinning, remembering the adventures he had with Jiraiya and the people he met along the way. He was standing at the gates, and with a last glance at his home he prepared to jump away into parts unknown and unknown dangers. The night had no stars and the moon was being obscured by clouds. He jumped and landed on a tree, and saw the last person he wanted to see at the moment. I just know you're not doing something stupid, the person said in a sarcastic tone, almost bored. Cursing under his breath, he faced the man in front of him. He was too emerged from his thought, he didn't sense the man coming. The man's gaze didn't waver, but Naruto could see disbelief and disappointment in his one eye. He spoke with an uncaring and bored voice, but Naruto knew he didn't felt like that. For some reason Naruto heard pain behind them. Ah, Kakashi, how are you? Naruto said casually, and immediately felt other people arriving at the area, 2 teams. Don't play stupid with me, Naruto, why were you leaving? Kakashi said, demanding an answer. I saw your clone carrying Hinata and I saw the real you heading for the gates, he said, knowing he couldn't get out of this one. He looked at Naruto and saw he was wearing his clothes differently, black overalls, like Junin's, and a sleeveless orange jacket, and he wasn't wearing a headband. I'm surprised you saw me at all these days, being with the Uchiha and all, and it had to happen today, Naruto said uncaringly, but the last part came out in a sarcastic tone as he rolled his eyes. Don't tell me that's all this is about, Kakashi said, not believing the boy was this stupid. If you want to know why I've been with Sasuke all this time, is because that's what the Hokage ordered me to do, the Junin said, trying to reason with the boy. Okay, I believe that, but I haven't heard a single thank you from you, from Sakura or the rest of the village for that matter. I risked my life protecting this village and this is how they repay me. With heads turned and glares, Naruto bellowed at his former teacher with all the pent-up anger he felt. Naruto? Kakashi started, ashamed of himself and the village. I mean, I know it's partly my fault that Akatsuki attacked, but to receive that treatment again. I saved the village from Sasuke's fire, that wasn't my fault, but everyone is complimenting him and Naruto. Naruto had enough, the Jinchuriki coldly finished as he looked at the Junin with no emotion, and then he tilted his head upwards. You said you saw me heading for the gates, Kakashi, but Anbu? I never thought I was such a big threat, Naruto said, looking straight at where the Anbu were hiding. It's for your own good, Naruto, please don't leave, if you do you'll required to take force, Kakashi said pleadingly, but held no fear and was serious to fight. Very well, Kakashi, I'll leave, Naruto said bluntly, and he sunshined away. The Anbu were surprised but sensed and gave pursuit. Kakashi was shocked. Naruto, no, I'm not going to let that happen, and with that he also moved with amazing speed. Naruto for the most part was leading them away to a more secluded area. There he would take care of them, and reaching a clearing big enough for his needs he made a stop and waited. The two Anbu squads arrived a minute later. Surprised the boy stopped. Kakashi arrived a few seconds after and wondered why Naruto stopped and prepared himself as he saw Naruto's eyes. Naruto was looking at them with pity as he would beat them hard to make it convincing, but in truth he didn't want to hurt anyone, he just wanted peace. Naruto, I see you gave up? Kakashi asked with a bit of hope but didn't count on it since Naruto's eyes didn't waver. Oh no, I wanted to separate you as far from the village as I could so nobody would interrupt us, Naruto said casually as his eyes landed on the Anbu, who were taking their weapons out and as far as Naruto could see, glaring at him. What are you doing? Kakashi asked the shinobi that were accompanying him in surprised tone as well as warningly. Sorry senpai, but if he's decided to fight then we'll use force, an Anbu captain said not looking at the Junin. Signaling his squad to strike and the other one to stand back, the fight had begun. Hee hee, fools, Naruto grinned as he saw two of the shinobi coming at him and then they disappeared. Naruto sensed them as he stepped forward and their sword clashed behind him while the other two finished some seals and threw several fireballs at him. Taking out two kunai in each hand, Naruto jumped backward and blocked the two Anbus from earlier as the jutsu connected with the ground. Kakashi wasn't surprised anymore to see Naruto fight so well. He did kill pain on his own and mastered the Hiraishin to an extent. He thought as he saw the boy kick an Anbu to the ribs and heard the sickening sound as he did so. The other squad was shocked to see their comrades being handled so easily, so they charge. I guess that's 2 down, 6 more to go, Naruto said in a bored tone as 2 Anbu members laid on his feet. Smirking as he saw the other squad move, he made a few hand seals, wind style. Great breakthrough. The shinobi, who weren't expecting that, got hit by the jutsu and were blown away. Slightly disappointed, he started to walk away when he felt steel on his neck. It's not that easy, Naruto, Kakashi said, holding a kunai on his former student's throat. Seemingly unscathed, he was starting to get anxious at seeing the emotionless face his student had. Why, Naruto, haven't I been a good teacher to you? With a hurting voice. You have, in your own way, but all you teach me is to control whatever chakra you find in the book. Nothing progressive, Naruto said icily to his former sensei. Sure, you have to be good in control, but what about the other areas? Naruto, I taught you that because of your own good. The Junin was interrupted by a voice to his left. My own good? You didn't thought of anyone else's goods when you taught Sasuke the Chidori? Naruto practically yelled at his teacher from where he was, standing there like nothing happened, and Kakashi looked at the object he was restraining and found out it was a big log. There, he's in a conversation with senpai, one Anbu said as the others got up and nodded. Dashing silently to their target, they each took out their swords and struck. Naruto sensed everything and knew Kakashi did as well. Knowing the shinobi approached with weapons, by the moment they got to him, Naruto was a meter behind them. The Anbu were surprised as they didn't saw the boy move and dashed again to where he was. Naruto, who already finished his jutsu, was thinking on how to end this without anyone getting hurt. There wasn't any. Lounging forward, he met with his wannabe captors, and in a few swift moves every Anbu member noticed that their swords were sliced in half. A wind sword. He's been practicing and his speed has improved as well, Kakashi thought as he revealed his Sharingan to keep up with Naruto's new moves. Naruto smiled at the bewildered expressions on their faces and kicked a nearby shinobi in the ribs and sent him sprawling to the ground. The others attacked Naruto together while Kakashi stood back, not wanting to get in this yet. Naruto blocked 2 punches directed at his face, dodged 2 kicks by moving his body strangely, and grabbed one last kick and threw the guy upwards. Naruto jumped to the air before the others reacted, and one of them jumped after him. Naruto grabbed the man he threw and flipped over him and gave a hard kick to the gut, and the guy went crashing to the ground. As Naruto descended, he grabbed the leg of the other one that followed him and landing threw him on the ground, making a big crater. Making hand seals, the Anbu were hoping to at least wound the boy, but 2 of them got their hands crushed as Naruto appeared out of nowhere and knocked them out. Lightning style. Crippling cannon. The last Anbu said as he shot a huge surge of electricity from the palms of his hands. The jutsu was thrown in a close range and Naruto took a direct hit. The explosion caught the Anbu as well. No way, the idiots, trying to fight with him seriously, Kakashi said as he rushed to the scene only to find the two squads of Anbu tied up and unconscious. "Don't worry Kakashi, they're okay," Naruto said from the rock he was sitting on. How are you this powerful when not even with pain?" the masked Junin said, not believing the tremendous skill the boy showed. Well, a few months after that fight and everyone avoiding me. I had time." Naruto grinned at the shocked face the copycat ninja had. Getting up, he prepared to fight one of the strongest people he'd ever known. "I don't want to fight, but I can't let you go away, not again," Kakashi said as he did some seals. Earth style. Earth Dragon? A giant dragon-shaped boulder came from the ground and came at Naruto. Naruto dodged but didn't expect the dragon to break in pieces. "That's a good one, sensei," Naruto said as the pieces of boulders struck the ground. "Now it's time for one of my own. Wind style. Bullet barrage," Naruto said as he blew air several times from his mouth. Kakashi managed to dodge a few, but two got him, gashing a leg and a shoulder. That's impressive, Naruto," Kakashi managed to say before making a giant fireball, but didn't stay put. The copycat launched something in the sky but didn't notice Naruto looking at the item that exploded. "We can't have that Kakashi," Naruto said as he shunshined to where the Junin was standing and kneed him in the gut before kicking him in the head. Kakashi rolled on the ground and stopped ungracefully. The Junin felt a sting on his head, and when he touched it he felt something warm and clearly liquid. Kakashi got up with a kunai and engaged Naruto. The fight was a fast one. The two shinobi were exchanging blows and blocking some, hearing the clangs of steel against steel. Naruto rushed to his sensei with such speed that the defensive motion Kakashi made failed as he was too late to intercept the monstrous kick in the chest he received, sending him flying to a rock, pulverizing it. "I had to make an effort on you, sensei, and alerting the village for backup wasn't something you shouldn't have done," Naruto said coldly as Kakashi struggled to get up. "Wow, it's not the amount of hits but the force behind them," Kakashi said as he saw his former student jump to the air and making hand seals. "Know that I appreciate you for what you've done for me, but only 3 to 4 people care in that village and it's not enough," Naruto said with pity to his sensei. Wind style. Crashing wind. As Kakashi was pushed to the ground with such force that his bones cracked as well as the ground. "I guess now I'm free," Naruto said as he saw his former sensei passed out from pain and shunshin away from the scene as he felt shinobi coming. Kakashi's backup. Hinata woke in what she thought was a very comfortable place and she didn't want to get up. The out of nowhere a sharp pain on her neck made her open her eyes. The pain wasn't what woke her since it wasn't a big pain, it was who she thought who did it. "I'm sorry, it wasn't a dream?" Hinata thought back while rubbing her neck absent-mindedly. "Why would he be sorry for? Was it him that gave me this pain? But how? I didn't saw anything." Hinata tried to think hard on what happened and got nothing. Getting up from her bed and walking around the room, she saw it was 4 in the morning and suddenly got a nasty feeling. Like a bad omen just passed and was going to impact everyone. Looking outside the window, she saw a lightning bolt in a distance and the trees were shaking violently because of the wind, and that made her very afraid. An Anbu with a cat mask appeared suddenly outside her window and she took a double step back in shock and fear but instinctively landed on her family's taijutsu stand. "Hyuga-sama, the Hokage wants to see you. It seems you were the last one who saw Uzumaki-san before he left," the Anbu said, impressed a bit in the instinct reaction of the girl, but was suddenly encountered with said girl's face. "Ji gone. How? Wa?" Hinata was babbling as she grabbed the Anbu and shook her. "We have to get out and find him," she said without a hint of a stutter. The Anbu woman gently put a hand on the frantic girl's shoulder to calm her down. Hinata got the message and both of them jumped into the night heading to the Hokages. Tsunade wasn't in a good mood. She had been woken up from her wonderful dream to receive notification that Kakashi and 2 Anbu squads were found unconscious. Her first reaction was rogues or even Akatsuki, since now the village had Sasuke, but she didn't saw any destroyed buildings or any battle of the sort. The next news shocked her the most. When an Anbu member woke up, he mentioned something about Naruto and left the village. She couldn't believe it and sent a ninja to verify his apartment, and when he came back empty-handed she almost broke down in tears, but he, being the Hokage, didn't. That was when no one was looking. "Kakashi, tell me what happened," Tsunade asked the almost healed-up Junin as he sat in a chair in the woman's office. Well, like the other ones told you, I saw Naruto heading with an unconscious Hinata Hyuga on his shoulder, but then I sensed a similar chakra signature and saw Naruto heading for the gates with a backpack and knew something was going on since you gave him the week off, Kakashi said, clutching his chest in pain. I sent a shadow clone to Anbu Core. And followed Naruto. Well, here I am. He beat you in 2 squads without a scratch? Tsunade asked unbelievingly, and at that moment Hinata entered the office in a hurry. What's this, Naruto's gone? Hinata asked with determination on her voice. I don't want to believe it either, sweetie, but he hurt Kakashi pretty bad before he left, the Hokage told the Kunoichi. What? The Chunin said, looking around to see Kakashi in a chair with scratches and his forehead had blood. He wouldn't, the girl, clearly shocked, said. I'm afraid so, he's gone whether you want to accept it or not, Kakashi said emotionlessly. He said a few people cared and that wasn't enough compared to how many hated him. Those included his friends. The Junin spat the last words and Tsunade got angry and both looked at Hinata. I went to see him, to see if he was alright, because he looked like he was sad when Kiba glared at him yesterday. In the last part he said, where, I'm sorry. Hinata said nervously as the two were watching her intently and she never liked too much attention. I see, well, I'm sorry we woke you at this hours, but I wanted more information. Tell the Inuzuka that his work has paid off and I want him here after he's done training, Tsunade said with a vicious glint in her eyes. We are going to search for him, alright? Hinata asked timidly. Of course we will. Don't worry, Tsunade said, smiling warmly at the girl. Hinata exited from the office a little more calm and saw silhouettes of shinobi rushing to the same office she just came out of. Tsunade looked at the 2 hunter squads and a squad of Anbu that were in her office. The squads were the best she had right now and were filled on the situation and had gone as quickly as they came. I hope they find him. I wanted him to take this job, Tsunade prayed into the night. Naruto was jumping from tree to tree without a care in the world until he saw a mountain edge and ran the path. Jumping around a bit, he spotted a nice cave to spend the night. He knew after what he'd done the old woman would send shinobi after him. I can't stay here too long or they'll catch up, Naruto said as he sat down and ate some instant ramen that he brought. Outside the cave, a man stood at the bottom of the mountain and watched the cave suddenly lit up. The man was wearing a cloak that reached to his ankles, according to the silhouette, and was glaring at the cave with such intensity from his only eye that glowed like blood under the moonlight. It seems like my goal will come to fruition, after all. 4 in the morning, everything was pitch black, only the stars, the moon and a few night crawlers were awake. A dark figure lurked in the forest at the edge of a mountain. The figure was atop of a tree branch seemingly sleeping, but in reality the figure was waiting for the boy that was inside the cave. Damn it, doesn't he know that the longer he stays the faster the Black Ops would find him? The figure said, clearly annoyed, but the second he comes out I would capture him? Naruto on the other hand was cautious. He felt a few hours ago the figure out there and knew that it wanted him. He planted a few seals on the edge of the cave to protect himself but knew that the moment he came out he would have to engage the person. Damn it, when I was looking for attention I never got any, and now that I want people to forget me they come looking, Naruto said as he felt the unmoving person down the hill and also felt the approaching shinobi, no doubt from Konoha. Deciding to face the stranger that was one opponent in order to avoid the 3 teams heading his way, he gathered his belongings and dashed outside. Jumping from branch to branch in incredible speeds, Naruto concentrated and felt the same presence he felt in the cave only a few trees behind. Naruto also felt the shinobi gain speed. It seems my new jutsu pays itself, Naruto thought as he concentrated on the air, leaving a small trail of chakra behind. I leave a chakra trail for me to know everything that's on the air, it's perfect for recon. How interesting, I shall meet him in that place, the figure thought, amused at the direction the boy was heading. The figure suddenly disappeared and left Naruto confused. Where did he go? Naruto whispered in amazement and created a clone to distract the incoming Konoha shinobi. The clone ran in the opposite direction of the original in order to intercept them. The clone had a lot of chakra so that it would seem like the original one if they hit it. The Konoha shinobi saw Naruto coming their way and prepared to fight. Naruto stopped in a small clearing on the forest and the shinobi followed suit. Naruto, you're to come with us immediately, one Anbu said while the hunters took their weapons out. You've assaulted a shinobi of our village, and to top it all an elite. You're coming with us, but before we do we're going to beat the crap out of you, demon," one hunter said menacingly and spat the last word in hatred. "No, we were ordered to capture him, not kill him. I know your intentions," the Anbu captain said, as he knew they weren't going to beat the boy but kill him. "Be as it may, you pathetic hunter ninja are just too weak." "I sense it," Naruto said indifferently as he surveyed the ninja. The two squads attacked and Naruto disappeared, and one of the ninja got gashes on his face and body which were bleeding profusely. The other hunters saw this and saw Naruto standing on top of a branch with a kunai in each hand. Out of nowhere a drill impacts the spot where Naruto was standing and the tree is destroyed. "It seems you've hid your dog fairly well, but sensed it," Naruto said with no emotion as he came out behind a tree. "But I didn't sense it with my jutsu. Wait, they had it out of my range. He thought as he faced the dumb ninjas. "I don't like this. Those dumbasses taking this fight too seriously," the Anbu captain said. "Don't fight until I said so, follow orders," he told his squad. Naruto dashed for the dog and knocked him out and saw the enraged Inuzuka charged at him. Smirking, he used his speed to get behind her back and knock her out as well. Naruto got wrapped up in chains as another hunter got to where he was. The ninja took out a knife and was about to stab when the kunai stabbed nothing but air. The Anbu were impressed at the boy's skills, but it was time for them to play. Naruto saw the Anbu take charge and knew that he had to finish this quickly. Gathering chakra and concentrated air on his palms and wind style. Devastating winds. Suddenly nasty winds shook everyone, as even with chakra they couldn't stick on the ground. The force of the winds was so strong that the trees were getting pulled out of the ground. The whole area was a mess. Some hunters were scattered on the ground unconscious or being pinned under trees. After the jutsu was over, Naruto saw a wall made out of wood sticking out of the destruction and the Anbu squad came out. "Ah, Yamato, no wonder you wouldn't attack so hastily," Naruto said, recognizing his former mentor. He saw Yamato take off his mask and his three subordinates came at him, fast. "I don't have enough chakra. I guess I can distract them for a while," the clone said as three Anbu members came at him. Naruto made a wind sword and met them. Running a little more calmly as he felt the Konoha shinobi held back because of his clone, he came into a scene he hasn't seen in a long time. The Valley of the End was exactly as he remembered: the two enormous statues, the insane waterfall, the destruction he and Sasuke made while they fought, and all there. The memories, the pain and sorrow. Why did all this had to happen? Naruto whispered as he marveled the view. Even if it was 5:30 in the morning, the sun was starting to show because of the season. "Well, you've finally arrived," the voice of a man said in a distance. The man was standing in Madara Uchiha's head. So it was you who was stalking me," Naruto said as he jumped on the fist Hokage's head. The man had a dark cloak with red clouds, but the most noticeable feature was his swirling orange mask. "Impressive that you could have sensed me. You'd have to been able to kill pain," the masked man said. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Madara Uchiha, the true leader of Akatsuki," he said as he bowed formally. "I've heard that name before." The fox compared Sasuke's chakra to yours, Naruto said thoughtfully and missed seeing Madara stiffen just a little. "Well, the boy may have potential, but he couldn't possibly be as powerful as me," Madara said, a bit angry. "How dare that demon?" "You may be right, but don't underestimate others," Naruto replied. "Oh, but I know so much about you, and you saved Konoha from pain. Why are you leaving?" Madara said, interested in these unexpected turn of events. "That's my business, and if you stand in my way you'll die sooner than expected," Naruto said coldly and put off an immense amount of killing intent. "Foolish kid," Madara flared up his own killing intent. 10 times Naruto's. "I intend to capture you and rip my old friend out of your body," as he charged to the Jinchuriki. Naruto couldn't move. The incredible chakra this guy possessed was outstanding. He had almost more chakra than him, but this chakra felt evil. Naruto saw the man in front of him in an instant and grabbed his neck, squeezing the life out of him. "I guess I'm stronger than you as well," Madara said as he looked at the boy's eyes before going inside of his mind. He walked around and encountered a huge cage, and at the center of the cage was a toad-like creature sticking into a piece of paper. "Hey, get out of my mind," a voice said, a very cold voice behind Madara. Madara turned around and saw a punch coming straight at him. In the real world he backed away as he saw in a millisecond that should have been impossible, and is. Quite a trick. What was that in the bars? Madara asked to the boy in front of him. He could have that, could he? No, he thought, debating whether he saw what he saw or not. I've sealed the demon completely, that was a key. I use it when emergencies are at hand, Naruto said, smirking at the obvious anger the man presented. No, Madara yelled as he lounged at the boy, but Naruto disappeared. Madara spotted him quickly and gave chase. Being faster than the boy, he punched him in the face and the boy fell towards the edge of the river. Descending to the spot where the Jinchuriki fell, he found no one there and ducked an incoming vertical slash. Naruto couldn't keep up with him as he used his old tricks to see what tricks this man used. Wind sword in hand, he rushed at Madara with every skill he had, but the man avoided everything. Suddenly he grabbed his hand, kicked him in the ribs and threw him across the river. Naruto tried to get up, but the guy was strong. Looking at him, he used a shunshin, but the man sidestepped him and kicked him again, but he exploded. That got him. I hope, Naruto said as he hid from behind a rock. He saw how Madara stood there like nothing happened and looked straight at him. The rock exploded and Madara was behind him. The Akatsuki grabbed his neck again, but this time he prepared, making a few seals, wind style, drill bullet. Madara released him and disappeared. Naruto was sensed him and got out of the way as Madara came crashing on the ground in 1 foot. Madara stood there, plossed that the Jinchuriki was entertaining, and smiled behind the mask. Enough holding back? Earth style. Twin spiked rollers, Naruto said the moment he made the seals in unimaginable speeds. From the ground 2 tick wheels with spikes rushed at Madara, who dodged them, but the spikes launched themselves. Naruto, seeing that Akatsuki was busy, used another technique he perfected and Madara was amused at the creativity of the boy. He didn't felt him move until too late. Naruto appeared in front of him and punched his face, sending him to the wall, making a small crater. Madara's mask was broken by the force of the blow. The only part that was covered is the left side. His blazing red eye was visible and mouth as well. The man grinned a sadistic smile promising pain and got out of the crater, performing hand seals, fire style, grand fire missile, and a giant ball of fire lounged at Naruto. It seems that he was distracted when I punched him. Right, I'll distract him with wind style. Great breakthrough, as he threw the jutsu straight at the fire, increasing its intensity and quantity. Naruto used his shunshin to get behind the man. Well, the boy seems stupid enough, huh? Madara said, but was surprised to sense the Jinchuriki behind him, but the wind sword didn't do anything. Damn it, you're good sensing me that quickly, Naruto said, concentrating on the man. As you, surprising me not once but twice. Pity you have to die, Madara said as he looked at Naruto straight at the eyes again. The Naruto clone looked at the scene he created with pity. The hunters and 2 Anbu members were unconscious. Yamato and Komochi, the wood user said his name, were in bad shape as well thanks to some wind jutsu, but the clone was panting like he had an asthma attack. Naruto, please, I don't want to hurt you, Yamato said, pleading with the boy for the 10th time. He had a gash on his shoulder and cheek and his chakra was almost gone. Don't bother, Yamato. Not trying to hurt him, goddess like this, Komachi said while clutching his chest. Naruto had kicked him hard. My time fighting you is over? I had fun and found something interesting. I'm a lot stronger than I thought. Naruto grinned and exploded in smoke, leaving the Anbu aghast. Way, a clone? Yamato said, not believing what just happened. All this time, a clone, impossible. Yamato. How could a clone last that long? Komachi said, not believing the unexpected turn of events. Shadow clones can get more stronger depending of the amount of chakra the person put at it. It seems Naruto put an incredible amount for it to fight like that, Yamato said, trying to find the logic. Moving to check their comrades and sending a messenger bird to the Hokage, they waited in the rising sun for help. At Konoha, it was early in the morning when she sent an Anbu to look for the Inuzuka, and it was now 6:30 and no sign of him. She heard a knock and told the person to get lost, but heard the growling voice of the wild boy and let him through. So this is the one that did most of the damage out of all his friends, Tsunade thought, leveling her hard gaze, and the boy looked uncomfortable. You called for me, Hokage-sama? Kiba asked, a bit nervous at her stare. Do you know why you're here? Tsunade asked, her voice thundered against the walls. No ma'am. The Anbu said something to do with a difficult situation on the village. Kiba answered, now more nervous than before. It has come to my attention that you called a former shinobi of ours names and glared at him, and that surfaced many unwanted feelings for the people and our former ninja. Tsunade said coldly as her voice raised a bit. Former ninja? Who? Kiba asked. Naruto Uzumaki, Tsunade said plainly and got angrier as she saw the boy's face change. Kiba was scared, but when he heard the name of that demon, he couldn't help but feel like this was a waste of time. Is this the emergency they had to call him this early? And did she say former shinobi? He left? He was celebrating tonight for sure. No offense, but that demon killed. He was suddenly punched and sent through the wall. Tsunade stood there fuming angrily at the stupidity of the boy. You call him that again? I'll personally reunite you with your father, she said coldly and ordered an Anbu to take him away. The news will spread fast, and the village will be happy, but at the same time it will be sad. We lost a hero, a Hokage, she thought mournfully as the sun arose to begin the day. At the Valley of Ends, Naruto and Madara were gazing at each other, their eyes never leaving their opponent. Naruto was bleeding from the forehead, had a gash on his leg and forearm and bleeding from the mouth. Madara looked better but had lost his cloak and his right arm had no sleeve and was bleeding. You've pushed me this far, you're very interesting, Madara said amusedly. Yeah, you're pretty good yourself, for someone so old, Naruto grinned. Should I use it? I haven't used it in battle and this guy looks like he would kill me if any errors and he almost killed a few times already. Hee, you got some spunk but you're not strong enough yet, Madara said preparing to get the boy with the next attack. I still can't believe he almost took my arm off. Hee says you, but how about I show you my new trick? Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated his almost depleted chakra. What now? You know that nothing you have can't kill me, Madara said mockingly. His eye widened as he saw something that made him of all people scared. I am possible, he can't, how? He thought frantically as he searched for an answer. How do you like my gift? Naruto said with a grin, staring at Madara with a piercing glare and a ripple-like pattern, the Rinnegan. Madara stared and still couldn't find an explanation to what just occurred. The Jinchuriki closed his eyes and there it was, the Rinnegan in its glory. The grin the boy had was mocking him and he wouldn't stand for that. Besides, Pain was killed a few months ago, what could this boy do? How? Madara demanded in rage and pointing at the Jinchuriki. How could you have that eye? Is impossible. He asked in a strangely calm tone unnoticed by Naruto. Not really, you see, Naruto said smiling as he explained how he got the Dujutsu. Flashback. Pain lay in a puddle of his own blood as he stared at the Jinchuriki that bested him. Naruto was crawling to where the Akatsuki lay dying to make sure he stayed dead when Pain choked a large amount of blood and smiled. Pain tilted his head to look at the Jinchuriki and knew something was going to happen. I can't believe that a god could be killed by a mere boy, Pain said looking at the boy with hate and admiration at the same time. You're no god. Stop believing such crap and die already, Naruto said fighting through the pain he felt. I told you I would destroy you. You messed with my friends and most of all you killed my sensei. You had a chance to change the world with those eyes, but you chose a path where death was certain. Naruto said coldly. I will protect everyone. That's a promise. Determination shone through his eyes and Pain could see it clearly. You protected everyone, just like me the first time, Pain said in wonder, his voice like he was thinking. To fight this boy with that incredible determination. Impossible, he whispered. Yeah. I can see now why you were chosen, he said looking at Naruto's eyes as they changed to a ripple pattern and then to their original blue. Chosen? Naruto said confused. Chosen by what? By whom? Use it well, Uzumaki, Pain said as his eyes turned completely white and his chest deflated. Pain, the killer of many, invincible to thousands, was dead. Naruto was surprised and confused. He didn't know what the hell he was talking about when chaos struck when he was being helped by his friends. Sasuke arrived. Flashback end. And that's when your precious Sasuke invaded and I defeated him, Naruto said smiling proudly and what he'd done. Yes, I can see it now, that foolish man, Madara said in wonder and anger. But still, the boy can't beat me, he has no chakra and if he used Kyuubi I'll suppress it, Madara thought sadistically as his plan was coming together. I have to escape, even healed up I can't take him and I don't think even Sage Mode, those hits I landed are because I tricked him, but… Naruto thought desperately, I hope my plan works. Well, not even with Rinnegan you can beat me. How about you join me and destroy the leaf for good? Madara tried. The possibilities. Do you know what kind of power you possess? I can teach you how to control it, Madara cunningly said. If the boy joined him, the world in general would crumble. I did felt a slight chance in my chakra, and the slight increase of it caught me by surprise, Naruto said thoughtfully. And I did learn rather fast those jutsus. But I would be a hypocrite if I joined you, he finished saying, grabbing a kunai. Well, I did try to reason with you, Madara said as he rushed to the boy and aimed a kick to the head, which the boy dodged. Dodging and slashing with his kunai, Naruto saw every move Madara made with the Rinnegan, but it had a price. It used too much chakra since he hadn't mastered yet. Having almost no chakra and having a psycho attacking you wasn't a pleasant thing, so Naruto was blocking and dodging and could see the annoyance growing on Madara's face. Come on Jinchuriki, fight, Madara kicked again but missed. I think it's time for me to stop playing around, he thought as he disappeared and appeared behind Naruto. What, how did you? Naruto was surprised at the guy's new speed. I could follow it, but too difficult for me without chakra. As the Rinnegan faded, better save whatever's left, he thought as he saw the evil, eerie smile forming on Madara's face and knew that if he didn't act fast he would be caught, and eventually killed. Oh, you don't have chakra, how wonderful, Madara said as he punched and then kicked Naruto into the ground, making a crater where he landed. I told you, you can't beat me, just give up, he said as he started to walk towards the boy. I can't give up, Naruto thought as he concentrated on getting a bit of the fox's chakra. Toad, open it a bit, and he felt a rush of power, enough to fill his coils. You are an idiot, the Nine Tails was my pet and I can suppress his chakra, Madara said as he lifted his right arm and was about to touch the red chakra when… There, Naruto thought as he widened his eyes and looked at Madara. See ya, as he made a seal. Grinned and he disappeared in a yellow flash, leaving behind a very angry and confused Uchiha. In the forest, say Yamato, did you felt that chakra a few minutes ago? Konoichi said as they waited for the medical team they've requested. Yeah, and I got a bad feeling since it wasn't demonic, Yamato said thoughtfully. The thing is, Naruto left us to fight a clone for a reason. If he would have faced us, that other guy would have too. He sent the clone to make us stay at bay and in a weird way protected us, he said, thinking in the possibility. Protecting us? But he… Realization dawned upon the Anbu's face. But if he did all that to save us from his attacker, he left himself weak. I mean with the amount of chakra he put into that clone, Konoichi said while he looked at Yamato. Shit, I had to get over there, Yamato exclaimed as he was about to jump when his comrade grabbed his shoulder. It's not your problem anymore, Captain. He chose this life, Konoichi said regretfully. But, Yamato said, but knew his comrade was right, but still. They're coming, Konoichi said to his leader as he sensed the medical team a couple of miles away. He and Yamato took out every shinobi trapped by a tree. Good, Konoichi, you're in charge for the time being. I'll be back, Yamato said as he jumped to the trees. Naruto, please be okay. That chakra signature I sensed earlier wasn't yours, the wood user thought as he ate a food pill. Increasing his pace as he felt his chakra returning, he raced through the trees in the direction the chakra was. After a few minutes of intensive running, he stumbles across the Valley of Ends, also the place where that chakra was coming from. Looking around, he saw two shinobi battling. After a while it turned out to be Naruto and that weird Akatsuki with the mask. Naruto, shit, he's fighting someone, Yamato said and was about to make some seals when, wait, even with the food pill I am alone, and if I help Naruto he's going to leave and I'll be fighting an Akatsuki, all alone. He thought and decided to see what happened. After the masked shinobi kicked Naruto in the ground, Yamato saw that Naruto had drawn Kyuubi's chakra and knew that if Naruto would kill the guy, he could use his jutsu and bring Naruto home. That's when he saw Naruto disappear in a yellow flash. Yamato was surprised and didn't saw the Akatsuki member appear behind. It's you, the one that can use wood style, Madara said menacingly as he stood sideways to not show his face and raised his arm when saw Yamato make a seal. He waved his arm and Yamato got slashed in different parts of the body. You're not worthy to have Hashirama Senju's abilities, he said coldly and disappeared into nothing. He was too fast, Yamato thought as his wounds bled profusely. Suddenly 4 shadows surrounded him. Wah, lightning shinobi? He thought in wonder and fear. It's a good thing we didn't show up sooner, that guy could have killed us, Omoi. A dark man chewing a lollipop said as one of his teammates checked the Konoha's anbu. Don't worry, we've come to deliver another message to your Hokage, Karui said, a dark woman, checking Yamato quickly as she used medical ninjutsu. It appears an Akatsuki was fighting a boy, do you know who he was? Sumoi said, a white big-chested woman, as she looked at the struggling man for answers. Why yes. He was fighting a rogue ninja, a Jinchuriki, Yamato said through gritted teeth. I hate to refer Naruto by that, but I'm not giving names yet, he thought as the pain lessened and a red pill was pushed through his mouth. The lightning shinobi were shocked. A Jinchuriki, could the leaf be so stupid? Omoi thought with incredulity. There, be grateful your wounds weren't critical and your death was meant bleed it out, Karui said as she closed her pouch and along her brother helped the anbu to his feet. Thanks, my team is up front about 1.5 miles. I'll tell you after we're in the village, the wood user said as he felt the incoming questions the leader was about to make. But I'll tell you this. I'm glad the boy escaped. The 4 shinobi couldn't help but to agree with the man. In Konoha, a beautiful day, the birds, the sun, the peace, of all days it had to be this one. Kakashi Hitaki lay in bed as he recuperated from that night's event. After the anbu left the Hokage's office he collapsed again since his injuries were worse than imagined. I still can't believe Naruto's gone, one of the most loyal shinobi this village had. All because people are ignorant, the masked ninja thought with misery. But he had every right to do what he did, but his power, he kept thinking, not paying too much attention to the nurse that came into the room with breakfast. Hero you go Hitaki-san? The Hokage will see you in a minute, the nurse said leaving the room. Kakashi, still in deep thought, was brought back by a hem from the busty woman in front of him. Kakashi, it seems the hunters and the anbu team were defeated. Tsunade began, a messenger bird came in the early morning and said something about a clone defeating them all, she said answering the copycat's silent question. Of course, the incredible speed. Everything fits a bit, Kakashi said out of nowhere, startling the Hokage. You said a clone beat them, right? A clone with enough chakra can do wonders, and with Naruto's new abilities and power, he said, letting the aged woman to figure it out on her own. Yes, that's possible, Kakashi, but still doesn't explain how he could take down 2 platoons on one night. Tsunade said, indignant and confused, not getting what Kakashi was trying to say. Hokage-sama, the Shunshin Jutsu. Kakashi said like that would be the most obvious thing ever. He used Shunshin to win and take down so many so easily. But how? The body flicker is a good jutsu to move around but not that powerful to have even you in trouble. Tsunade said, wanting to know what the masked ninja said. But it wasn't any ordinary body flicker. He used wind chakra to move even faster, Kakashi said, remembering how it happened. I was using my Sharingan and I saw him say, wind style. Shunshin, and in a blink of an eye he was hitting me in the chest. He said, looking at the dumbfounded look in his leader's face. He what? That little brat, the cunningness and intelligence, and leaves it for battle only, Tsunade said, chuckling sadly. He was the most unpredictable ninja ever, Kakashi smiled with his eyes closed. In another part of Konoha, a young Kunoichi was waking up from the world of dreams and was thinking about the things to do today. Sakura Haruno also was thinking of the boy that came into the village seeking revenge, but her teammate put a stop to that. She was angry at him at first, but then she heard what those elders did and made her blood boil and tried to make him feel better, but like 2 years ago, nothing, plus he had a new fangirl. She kept herself busy in the hospital and going to Sasuke's old compound, that was being watched by Anbu, but the teen wouldn't say nothing to her. Why? I mean, I'm being nice, but he acts like he doesn't want you, and when Naruto passed the other day he actually smiled to me. But when Naruto was gone he had a scowl again. Sakura thought while she got ready for work, I'm going to look for that knucklehead today and make him explain, she thought while heading outside. Upon arriving at the hospital she saw a group of medical ninja carrying as fast as they could a few shinobi in masks. She heard someone calling her name and ran to the voice. Shizune, what is it? Sakura asked as she found the person who was calling her. Sakura, I need you to help those medics, they're almost out of chakra since they've been away to help a team, Shizune said as she rushed to another part of the building. Hello Sakura, I'll treat them, The person in here needs something, please attend to it, Tsunade said as she came out of a room and found conveniently her student. Yes, sensei, Sakura said as she entered the room. At entering the room she was surprised to see who was in there, Kakashi. Oh, hi, the masked Junin casually said as he passed a page of his book, but if you were anyone else you could feel the tension rising, but to Sakura it went unnoticed. Kakashi-sensei? What are you doing in here? The pink-haired Kunoichi asked at seeing her sensei in the hospital yet again, but saw his injuries were insignificant. Oh, well, I ran into a complication, yeah? Kakashi said, not wanting to tell her just yet. He looked at the pink-haired Chunin with disappointment. I thought she'd change. What complication? I heard people in the streets saying something about rouge, is that it? Sakura asked, knowing, having a sense of dread coming at her. She's as sharp as ever, Kakashi thought. Well, yes, I went to check it out, took some anbu with me, and believe it or not, Naruto, he was interrupted by the girl's indignant yell. Naruto? You brought Naruto to capture rouge? Don't tell me that idiot is the reason you're this way. Sakura said angrily as she could imagine her clumsy teammate screwing everything up just to help, but failed to see her sensei's one eye glint dangerously. Enough! Kakashi yelled, demanding silence. Sakura, how could you treat your teammate, your friend, like this? No wonder he left, he said, understanding Naruto's situation. If this is his teammate, imagine the others. Sakura was trembling. Kakashi, her perverted, lazy and laid-back sensei, yelled at her because she was talking down Naruto? She was curious as to why now. She always talks bad about Naruto. Why did he start to care now? Did he say leave? Sensei, why do you leave? What do you mean he left? Sakura said, scared that she'd heard right. The blonde baka couldn't have left, she needed him. Yes, Sakura? Naruto, your ex-teammate, defected from the village, Kakashi said, citing a tired one as he looked at the dumbfounded, ready to burst into tears face of his pink-haired student. The day was beautiful, the breeze and sun shining through clouds, birds flying so carefree, a perfect day. But why does it feel like something bad happened? A boy thought as he sat meditating on his home. The boy had raven dark hair and dark eyes. He also was wearing a white shirt with a crest on its back. The boy was Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke. A red-haired girl yelled as she dropped from the roof to where the dark-haired boy was. The girl, Karen, hugged Sasuke and sat at his side while the boy looked uncomfortable. Hello, Karen. Could you back off? Sasuke said, not asking but demanding. I'm meditating, he said plainly as he felt a figure lift from the fountain and another came from the roofs. Well, it seems you two started early, Suigetsu said and dodged a stone thrown by Karen. Hee, Sasuke. I've heard something that may interest you, Jugo said as birds were flying around him and his left ear returned to its original shape. Tell me then, Sasuke said, opening his eyes as he tried to block the bickering. It seems that your friend, the one that convinced you to stay, left the village last night, Jugo said calmly but knew the danger those eyes had. What? Sasuke said sharply and unconsciously activated his Sharingan. The Dobi? Gone? Why? He loved this village more than anyone, Sasuke thought and remembered the looks he got as he was walking through town. Because of the Kyuubi? The power he used to defeat me? These people are ignorant. That's a bummer. I really wanted to fight him, Suigetsu said as he looked at the retreating Sasuke. Hey, where are you going? It's time I find out why the Dobi left. I'm going to the Hokage, Sasuke said as Anbu descended and surrounded the prodigy. Somewhere, the sound of panting could be heard inside a cave just a few meters to the side of a river. It was the early morning and still Naruto was trying to heal himself enough for him to get help. After he arrived using a high-ranked jutsu, his body almost gave out right there, but he crawled more deeply into the cave and started to draw in a slow state the demon's chakra. It's incredible. That guy was though, and not to mention utterly insane, Naruto said as his injuries were more healed and the pain was less. You fool, if I hadn't been in here you could have died? I told you fighting that man was trouble, but no, you used that jutsu when you had no other option, an annoyed voice said from within the cave as well. A toad with his legs closed on top of a huge scroll scolded the boy. I know, but I wanted to find out his abilities and for a moment there I thought I was invincible, but I know I'm far from that, Naruto said as he contemplated what happened. But my escape plan worked nonetheless, creating a clone while the enemy sent fireballs at me and sent him with a tri-pronged kunai to look for a safe spot for me to escape. Ingenious, huh? Pretty lucky if you ask me, the toad said. Well, I didn't ask you, besides I have all the time in the world to get strong, no missions, no people to bug me, and soon enough I'll complete my new dream, Naruto said as he dropped, his body finally giving out. The world was about to see a new threat. Whether it will be good or bad, we'll have to see. Being escorted by an Anbu team always brought every eye in the street to the person, and depending who was escorted it was treatment you were going to receive. That was the case of one Sasuke Uchiha as he walked through the streets with a squad of Anbu, and his treatment was, in better words, almost as worst as the Jinchurikis. They think I care, but given the chance I would kill them all. Sasuke thought without emotion as every eye that looked at him had hate. They think a little hate would do, they need a lot of it to make me even flinch. Arriving at the biggest building, the Uchiha survivor sensed the tension all the guards had as they saw him. Sasuke kept walking, looking uncaring, until the Anbu showed him the door that led to the Hokage's office. Sasuke was about to enter when an Anbu raised his arm. Know this, you do anything stupid, anything at all. Just know that your friend is not in the village anymore. The Anbu captain, a female, said as she withdrew her squad to hide in the shadows to watch the boys silently. Sasuke smirked at her as she fell into the shadows. Sasuke knew they saw the Kusanagi hidden under his robe, but they sealed his chakra. It would take a huge amount of skill to kill someone without it. Hearing a soft knocking at the door, she stopped doing paperwork, wondering who it was since it didn't give a chakra signature. Voicing that, "Enter," she was shocked and at the same time angry as hell seeing the Uchiha brat in front of her. The blonde woman got even angrier as he stood watching her with a calculating gaze. As she was to yell at him, he moved to a chair, sat and opened his mouth. "I've heard the Dobi left, why?" Sasuke asked. "No, more like demanded," the answer. "Huh? You're in no position to demand anything, Uchiha," Tsunade said with hate dripping in the last word. "How dare him, a traitor demanding information. I just want to know why Naruto Uzumaki defected from the village, and to say it's about time," Sasuke said, smiling for the first time in a while as he looked at her face. "About time?" Tsunade gritted her teeth in anger. "It's about time someone put you in your place, you little—" She was interrupted by the young Sharingan user. "The only one that could put me in my place is gone thanks to the stupidity of the people you lead," Sasuke said forcefully. "If you ask me, Naruto was here for a very long time." "I know, but if he would have talked," the Hokage said in a defeated tone. "If he would have talked you wouldn't understand. I saw how you've treated the guy and maybe in your mind he was someone special, but he can't read minds, can he?" Sasuke said coldly as he stared at the Hokage's face with an unwavering calm face. "You're one to talk," the Hokage began, but again she was interrupted. "What? You're going to tell me that he was depressed because I left? I'm here. I'm not the one that dropped him away," the Uchiha prodigy continued his onslaught. "To not say anything and leave your compliments for him locked up was a mistake. You're almost as bad as Sakura." "You dare compare me to Sakura? I'm proud of her and all of her achievements, but I'm not following blindly a traitor who leaves friends behind for power to kill an innocent man." Tsunade spat angrily and knew that she'd struck a chord with that last comment as the Uchiha's face contorted with anger. "I see where you are going with this. I only came here to find out what happened and offer my services with my own platoon," Sasuke said, his voice obviously containing repressed anger. "How dare she mention that? She has no right. You think I'm going to trust you with such a manner? For all I know you could kill Naruto if you find him," Tsunade said, clearly still angry for the comment. "Hee. I knew I would have you trust, but why not send another platoon as well to keep an eye on us, as to kill Naruto? Not. He would be a good sparring partner," Sasuke said, smirking. The prodigy saw the Hokage reconsidering and knew they would have a though time dealing with whatever team she'd arrange. "I'll think about it. In the meantime try and see your former sensei," Tsunade said, still in a thinking pose as Sasuke nodded and left. "If I send him, Naruto would go crazy or come without trouble. I hate his unpredictability," she thought, massaging her temples. Wandering aimlessly through the village, the young, pink-haired Kunoichi contemplated what she just learned. Tears ran freely from her emerald eyes as she came to a stop in front of Ichiraku's, Naruto's favorite place. Sakura remembered all the times he would go in the place to eat unimaginable amounts of ramen, and was the only place in the village that didn't treat him badly. Moving forward to enter the ramen shop, she didn't expect the amount of people already in there, namely her friends. I guess you heard the news, a lazy voice said full of regret. Shikamaru looked at her as he sat on a stool. At his sides were Choji and Ino. All of them had the same expression on their faces, pure disappointment in themselves. Why yeah, I heard it from Kakashi-sensei, he fought Naruto before he left. Sakura said, new tears forming as she forced the blonde's name. The others bowed their heads at the mention of the name and were ashamed at their treatment of the guy after all he'd done for them and the village. I still can't believe it. Ino said with a tone of surprise. Naruto was the most loyal guy I've known, and now this. She kept ranting to find a way to explain. Ino, we dropped him away, the way we treat him, and always had attention whenever he appeared, it's our fault. Choji said. The disappointment in himself was clearly noticeable as Shikamaru nodded at the logic of the statement. Choji didn't got the chance to thank Naruto for avenging his father, and now with him gone, the guilt was eating him alive. I guess we're all to blame, a new voice said with a hint of formality. Neji stood at the curtains with Lee and Tenten. All three of them recently heard the news from their sensei and wandered the streets in search for the people that knew Naruto best. Guy had respect for Naruto, and hearing the news caused him to lose interest in training today and dismissed his team early to talk with the other shinobi about the incident. The bright and youthful day was ruined by the terrible news. Lee said, clearly shocked and sad at the blonde shinobi's departure. Tell me about it, Shikamaru said. I mean, I was about to go find him for the exams and, bam, I find he's gone, he said, shaking his head. Unknown to those in the restaurant, a silent figure crept at the side of the building to listen to their conversation. The person was clearly in a bad mood because of the lack of sleep gotten last night since the news. Hinata Hyuga had a look of determination and pure anger as she searched for Naruto's friends and give a piece of her mind. She considered the options of going in there and yell, but she really liked to eat in the place, so she waited for them to talk. By the sound of their voices they sounded sad. But unknown to even the Hyuga outside, a newcomer was about to make his appearance to the group, and the person knew it wouldn't be very warm the welcome he'd receive. Sasuke Uchiha walked with intent to the place he knew all of the Dobi's friends were and was going to toy with their hearts a bit. As he neared the ramen shop, the Hyuga widened her eyes and quickly stood ready to strike with the Juken stance. Halt, Hinata said without stuttering as her palms were ready. I won't let you hurt them, she finished with determination on her eyes. She was determined to bring him down because if he hadn't gone, Naruto wouldn't have suffered so much. The Uchiha prodigy just watch her without emotion? Is she serious? Pathetic, he thought as he began to move, but a chakra palm waited for him. Dodging the lethal hit to the heart by an inch, Sasuke grabbed the arm of the Hyuga prodigy and casually moved it to the side. Looking inside the shop, every face glared at him. Even Sakura's. He smirked and then let out a full hearty laugh, shocking everyone near. You think that letting your anger at me you'll feel better? No one in this place has the power to challenge me, Sasuke said amusedly as he calmed down. But I'm not here to start a brawl, but to talk to the people that drove the Dobi away. He said, his voice deadpanned, and the tension that was already there got even more intense. I don't like your tone, Uchiha. Neji spat the last word, having enough of the traitor's uncaring face. And I wouldn't talk if I were you. You've caused Naruto pain throughout the years, he finished coldly, but besides that, he admired the guy for getting out of the way and directed him to another direction. He felt pain because he wanted to. I told him to leave me alone, that it was my business. You've had things to do and wouldn't want others to interfere, right? Sasuke said, tired that everyone brought that up every time. But I'm not the one that dropped him away with your attitude. I know what he carries and respect him for not going ballistic on us before, the Sharingan user pointed out, and everyone present was shocked. It's not like it's our entire fault. I saw you enjoying Sakura's presence the moment Naruto came into view. But the moment he was out of sight, you had a scowl on your face again. You tortured him, Shino said, appearing out of nowhere. Hinata, I'm here to inform you that our teammate is in the hospital. Why? Because Tsunade-sama broke his jaw for a unnecessary comment, the bug user added as he looked at Hinata. I hope it was a knocker, the heiress said coldly, and everyone except Sasuke were shocked as she never say anything bad about anyone. He was the cause of Naruto-kun's defection. He called him monster and other horrible things. I hate him, she said, not stuttering once as she was engulfed with rage. Don't, Hinata, Sasuke said seriously. Hating him would get you nowhere, even less with Naruto. forgive your friend and teach him not to be an idiot," he finished with a small smirk as everyone in the stand stared at him in shock at what he just said. "I've never known you to give advice," Suigetsu said from behind the wall of the shop. "Rather ironic to give the girl that advice, huh?" The sadistic boy grinned as he got up from the wall he was at and looked at Sasuke. Said boy looked at Suigetsu with annoyance and felt two other on the roof and decided to leave. "Let's go, Suigetsu. We need to go for Jugo's treatment and to begin our training," Sasuke said to the grinning boy and walked out, but before he left, "Think about your choices and the future ahead," and with that he left. I think Sasuke-san was correct. You all underestimated Naruto-kun, and when you found out he held a terrible secret you scorn and reject him. I'm very disappointed," Hinata said as her voice raised a bit but never losing her soft tone, and with that said she left, leaving behind 7 people with a lot to think about. "Naruto-kun, I'll get strong and get you to respect me. I swear it by my Nindo, and I'll get you back home, that's my new goal," Hinata thought as she headed for her home and trained intensely for the upcoming years. After arriving at the village with the injured shinobis, the messenger team sent to Konoha were quickly dispatched in a hotel and told to stay as the Hokage had an emergency at the hospital. The 4 shinobi were quickly bored as it was almost noon and no word of the village leader, when a knock was heard at the door. Cautiously Omoi got up and turned the doorknob, revealing Tsunade herself. "Hello. I'm sorry for the rude actions at your arrival, and you have my sincere apologies and thanks for attending one of our shinobi when needed," Tsunade said in a polite tone and smile as she stood in the doorway. "Omoi, you dumbass, let her in," Karui exclaimed as she couldn't believe the guy's stupidity. "Sorry Hokage-sama, but he's a bit," she said, rolling her index finger on her temple. "A bit what?" Omoi said with a vein on his forehead before being stopped by Samui. "That's enough, you two. We accept your apologies and please consider ours, my lady," Samui said in an equal tone of Tsunade. The equally blonde and big-chested woman was excited to see the slug princess herself yet again. Since she was little she wanted to be remembered as a legend, just like the woman in front of them. "No worries," the Hokage said, smiling with it was replaced by a serious face. "I've sent the shinobi home to rest. But he told me that you watched the match between an Akatsuki and our former ninja," she said, business-like, wanting to know everything that happened and was connected with Naruto. "Well, my lady, we were got up really early to at least be in the village gates by the rise of the sun when suddenly we all sensed a powerful chakra and decided to investigate. We saw the fight for a few minutes and were going to leave when one of us spotted the red clouds on the cloak. We were about to engage, but the fight was intense. They moved at speed that we couldn't match and knew we would die. The boy that fought escaped using some spacetime ninjutsu, and suddenly the Akatsuki was baiting your shinobi, injuring him. He disappeared, and that's when we came in to help," Samui said without pause or batting an eyelash, with a serious business tone, and her team nodding to confirm her story. Well, it seems that you know about the space-time ninjutsu because of Yamato, correct?" Tsunade asked the shinobi, who nodded. "There's something you should know. That shinobi that fought Akatsuki was a Jinchuriki, the last one according to your reports. The village's scorn for him was too great and, well, you know," Tsunade said, trying not to sound sad but failing as everyone in the room caught the tone and knew the boy was special to her. "Don't worries, my lady, we'll help you find him and maybe you can aid us in our village's quest to destroy Akatsuki," Samui said with hope in her eyes. The last time they were here the village had been attacked and almost no response came from the Sannin. "That sounds like a plan," Tsunade said, smiling once again. "Remote area at water country. I can't believe he escaped like that. His unpredictability is impressive. Konoha has Sasuke, and we still need 2 Biju, find them immediately," Madara Uchiha said with a voice demanding attention from the last members of the Eri organization. The command came strict, knowing they couldn't come back until they had then Jinchuriki with them and ready to extract. "Yes," Zetsu said, disappearing through the floor, smirking all the way. Hee, this will be fun. I guess a look around Kumo wouldn't hurt," Kisame said as he shouldered his sword and left. Madara stared into nothing, but his mind was ever so busy. "I'll find you, Naruto. My power can't be denied from me any longer." His voice vibrated in the hollow cave, making it sound more evil than it was already. "Konoha. To getting strong, for protection of the village, and to get Naruto back home." The toast could be heard all around the block where a restaurant was. 7 shinobi sat at a double table at noon eating and toasting. remembering the good times they've had with an unpredictable, knucklehead of a shinobi. Every single one of them had that goal, some added to that goal more some less, but the goals had something in common: Naruto. In another part of the village, a raven-haired boy stood in the middle of the training ground as he watched his sparring partner get up from the onslaught he sent him just a moment ago. The boy had a katana drawn and little sparks came from it. Smirking, he watched the boy cursed him. The other boy got up as he used his giant sword as support and scowled at the other, increasing his killing intent. Naruto, I have a clan to revive, that's my goal for now, but I'll get you back someday. Maybe sooner than you think, Sasuke thought as the shark boy readied himself and sprang forward. Pathetic, Sasuke whispered as Suigetsu charged, but suddenly he dropped to the ground and Sasuke had his Sharingan activated, already waiting for the inevitable. I guess this is where we get a little payback, a voice said as Sasuke felt cold steel on his neck. The Sharingan user smirked and turned into a pile of snakes that wrapped around the attacker in a second. Fool, I sensed you since you arrived, Sasuke said as he watched the snakes bite the man but turned into a log. Glancing back at the corner of his eyes, the prodigy smiled. Omoi, that was stupid. We came to warn the guy, not attack him. He's part of the village and attacking him could damage our deal, Karui said as she came down a tree with two others. Uchiha Sasuke, correct? Samui asked as she stepped forward. Our Raikage is not pleased with your past actions. Tell us the location of Killer B, she demanded sternly with cold eyes. Your friend is lost. They have different bases and I don't know all of them, but I'll tell you to search in the water, Sasuke said, leaving something for them to think about as he grabbed Suigetsu and vanished. Damn, Omoi exclaimed as he and the rest of his comrades stared in mild amazement where the Uchiha disappeared. Unknown to them, the Uchiha was going to play a small part in their future. The days, the weeks and the months passed and finally it was a year without the hyperactive knucklehead ninja that was Naruto Uzumaki. Some people were happy that the demon incarnate was gone forever. Others didn't care whether he's gone or not since the boy didn't interact with them. But there were others that were sad that the blonde shinobi had gone and were to this day mourning in self-disappointment as they thought back at how they treated the blonde enigma. In the shinobi community, many trained themselves for ranks, others for physical purposes, but a select group of individuals trained for something greater, to get their friend back. Rumors have escalated in the latest months and gave false hopes to them, but they still hoped. Sasuke's team and Yamato, Kakashi, Sakura and Sai went looking but came back empty-handedly after 2 weeks of leads, and everyone wanted to get back because the two Kunoichi were beginning to get on their nerves. Team 8 with Shikamaru also went looking for the blonde, Kiba not liking the idea, and all of them didn't think it would go well if they find him. Their mission was to find any kind of information that could contain a hint or clues of Naruto's whereabouts, but like the first team they came with their hands empty but a few information about blonde kid with blue eyes in different locations. If the information was correct or not, the places were too random, and that's just like Naruto, unpredictable. It's okay, we'll find him. Hinata, he must have left to Myobokuzen to train again with the toads, Tsunade said with a smile at the girl in front of her that came almost every day to see if she had any news. I know Hokage-sama, but I'm worried, each passing day it's torture. I can't stand it, Hinata said as she pressed one hand over her heart but without a stutter. Naruto, it took you to go missing for this girl to loose that annoying stutter, Tsunade thought with a sad smile as she looked at the weeping girl, but was surprised when she lifted her head with a determined look. I'm going to find him, Tsunade-sama. Any leads and I'm there, Hinata said strongly as she gazed at the Hokage. Of course, you're dismissed, Tsunade said with a smile. After the Hyuga heir left, the smile turned to frown. Everyone close to her is saying that she has distanced herself from them to train. If that keeps happening, it will not be good, she thought with desperation through her window. 2 years have passed since the knucklehead went missing. Suande had no choice but to put him in the bingo book, but as a B-rank criminal for his own protection. Naruto knew too much of the Hidden Leaf Village. His techniques that now were more powerful than ever, and the Kyuubi was enough to make him S-rank, but that would mean trouble for him in the long run. Everything was at peace for the moment and Tsunade tended to keep it that way, but something on the back of her mind told her that this was just the beginning. Kumogakure lead missions to find Akatsuki in every nation. Since having Sasuke on the village told them that he would spill or made him spill, they moved away, constantly. Sasuke lead his and other teams to Orochimaru's lairs for information, and they always came back with little to none since it seems someone already got there first. Iwagakure was mad for months, and you could still feel the impact they gave after they knew about Naruto's defection and its causes. The merchants cried endlessly for months and the economy was just as bad. Other countries were the same, but the damage was greater since their things came more far away that Suna and the village was thrown into chaos. The people that knew why all these countries did this were happy that the village got to pay for their sins in a stupid way, but it was punishment. Sadly, those same people lived in the village. Some lived without requiring those things, but the majority couldn't live without them. It was funny to those who cared when the population found out the reason why the merchandise had been. The anger turned to shock as they didn't know how much of an impact he had made in those countries. While nothing has been seen in those places in the last couple of months, Kakashi said, reporting to the Hokage as he finished yet another failed search for Naruto mission. I expected as much, good job anyway. Tsunade said as she slumped back to her chair. I don't know where else to look or to do. Naruto really did his job, huh? She said tiredly as she looked at the masked Junin. Indeed, the village has not been the same without him. I even heard that they're upset that Naruto's gone, Kakashi said with mirth on his voice. Yes, I've heard that as well. Funny to see them wanting Naruto now when they're suffering, Tsunade said as she looked at the village from her window. Yes, ironically, when Naruto suffered because of them, now they're suffering because of him, Kashi said, laughter in his voice. Kakashi, I'm worried about a few shinobi from Naruto's age, Tsunade said, changing the subject in a second and caught the copycat by surprise. Yes, I am worried as well. Some are training so vigorously is proud to see, but others are turning cold towards everyone, Kakashi said, turning serious as he thought back at the shinobi that their personalities change. Hinata is the one I'm worried about the most. She has distanced herself away from her team and friends for 2 months now, Tsunade said, not wanting another rogue out there. Yeah, claiming to train all the time. Even Neji doesn't do that, Kakashi said in a thinking pose. She passed the Junin exams with Shikamaru and Shino. But the way she looks at people in the streets, Kakashi said with a low shudder. Yeah, like she wants to kill them all. The Hokage nodded, understanding Kakashi's predicament. I think she doesn't do it because she will die at the second she does it, and after all she hasn't told Naruto her affection, she said with a small smirk. Hee, yeah, but the girl will end up pissing everyone, and with my experiences with Naruto, he doesn't like girls like that, Kakashi said sagely. What about Sasuke's team, no trouble? He asked as he knew that Suigetsu could be a handful. No, actually they have behaved quite fine. Sasuke come every now and then to see if I have a mission involving Naruto, Tsunade said with a smile. The other boy and the girl are a bit annoying sometimes, and the tall one is rather quiet but smart. That's a surprise, but leave it to Sasuke to put them in shape, Kakashi said. Well, if you don't need me anymore, I'll leave, he said as he opened the door and went through it. Another year had passed, making it 3 years since the disappearance of Knucklehead Shinobi. No success on his whereabouts yet, but some had seen his features in different parts of each countries. Drastic changes had been made in the village. Shinobi power increased a bit, Chunins became Junins and some Junins became Anbu. Some shinobi teached in the academy, other took teams of freshly out genins to train to become excellent ninja in the future. Many things changed and some others didn't. Shinobi hadn't let past the disrespectful treatment made for one blonde shinobi. I don't care if you beg me until you die, Sakura, I don't forgive that easily. I'm not Naruto, a cold voice said to a pink-haired Kunoichi. The voice belonged to none other than Hinata Hyuga, who was looking at the incredibly strong woman in front of her with an equal coldness. But Hinata, I already apologized to you and have gone to every mission I could to search for him. What more do you want? Sakura said. Over the years she had learned to control her anger, but the Hyuga in front of her was beginning to piss her off. First of all, it's not me you should be apologizing to. Second, I want more effort from your part, Hinata said plainly, and saw with satisfaction that the pink-haired banshee was about to explode. What? Sakura yelled with indignity, and the yell drawed the looks from everyone in the street. More effort. Hinata, you have an obsession with finding him. He will be found when he wants to be found, she said as she stormed off, leaving Hinata with something to think about. In another part of the village, a group of shinobi sat in a dinner discussing their lives, training methods of the funniest or most dangerous missions they've had recently. This behavior started a couple of months after Naruto left. They felt they needed each other more than before, realizing that hardship and contempt can do to you. Hinata was the one that never came, saying that she needed to train. Even Neji came in 1 or 2 occasions. Kiba came in as well, but not regularly. He was beginning to see how good Naruto was, but one comment led to other and he was gone plainly mad. Another unexpected group that everyone doubted, they come where Hawk, and even they came once or twice. So nothing new? Shikamaru asked, looking around the table. Well, I'll tell you something interesting, and it's about Hinata, he said, and saw Neji hardened his eyes, but the lazy Junin just smiled. Shikamaru, don't meddle in things you shouldn't, Neji said threateningly with cold, merciless eyes. Don't worry Neji, it's not a rumor, just a thought, the genius said in a matter-of-fact tone. I seem to know why Hinata doesn't come to this reunions. She sees us as direct or indirect causes of Naruto's defection. He finished and looked at Neji for confirmation. Yes, the Hyuga prodigy cited. She doesn't look at me anymore and only directs me a sentence, and that's because she wants to spar, he said, remembering the spar they had the other day. After all this years of training, she's seriously gaining my tail. Last sparring session I almost used a lethal attack on her just so she could calm down. I figured as much. A year ago that theory got on my mind, and every time I see her it comes back. She sees us with loathing, and that's not good, the Nara boy said. Last time I went in a mission with her it almost failed because she used the Byakugan to glare at us instead of watching for enemies, he finished and cited. It's not her fault, you know, it's Naruto's, he's the one to blame. If he wouldn't have gone, Hinata would be the same, Kiba said, getting up from his chair. And you keep this little reunion once every week or month. He was interrupted suddenly. You don't have to come if you don't want to, Kiba, Sakura said from the doorway with a glare that could burn steel. The ones that are here are because we feel bad about our doings. But every time you come here I hear you criticize and plainly insult Naruto, she almost yelled at the last part. She does have a point, you know, a lazy voice said from behind Sakura. I come here to share my point of views with you all, but it's not pleasing to hear you trash talk someone who isn't even here, or take on for that matter, he said in a low voice that he knew the Inuzuka heir could hear. What did you say, Kakashi? Kiba exploded when he heard what the masked Junin said. You think because you have more experience you can take me on, the heir to the Inuzuka clan's throne? He said haughtily and moved his hand an inch closer to his pouch. Everyone saw the gesture and thought that Kiba had finally lost it to challenge Kakashi, one of the few to aspire to Hokage. Yes, Kakashi said plainly. And you seem in a mood for a fight? How about it? He said, his voice turning a bit serious but his eyes never leaving his latest edition of Icha Icha Paradise. Hee, you're too stupid. But I have time, Kiba said, grinning wildly at the perverted Junin. And I recommend you take your eyes of that filthy. His face was suddenly on the table and a kunai on his throat. Well, if this the best you can do, a ninja is always prepared, and never insult my book again, got it? Kakashi whispered coldly to the young Inuzuka. You think because you'll have a title in a few years and became Junin you're a big shot, you can take me down? You're sadly mistaken, he finished in the same dull voice he had when he entered. Glaring at everyone in the room, the Inuzuka heir stormed off, leaving behind a very awkward, tense place. Well, that was entertaining, but did you had to humiliate him like that, in public? Shikamaru said, and in that instant the tension was gone and everyone resumed what they were doing. Shikamaru, you'll understand when you're older that when young punks think they can beat you because they're Junin you just have to teach them a lesson. I learned that the hard way, he said, his eye curved in a U-shape. Randomly walking to the shopping district of the village, Hinata stared at the shoppers emotionlessly. Hinata was thinking of the comment the pink-haired Kunoichi said before storming off that morning, and the comment shook her to the bone. Why wouldn't Naruto-kun want to be found? Hinata thought as she sat in a bench to think more deeply without disturbing. Even achieving Junin status and having the stutter gone, the Hyuga heiress still had a soft heart, somewhere. Hyuga-sama, the Hokage wishes to speak to you, an emotionless voice said at her side, taking her out of the deep thoughts that plagued her. An Anbu stood at her side with flowing silver hair, and by the sound of the voice. It's a female Anbu, Hinata thought with happiness. Not all men are powerful. Gazing at the masked woman she nodded and turned away, but Hyuga-sama, you won't like who is also there. This time the female voice was full of mirth and said it in a sing-song tone. Whirling around to demand what she'd meant, the Anbu wasn't there, only smoke. I didn't like the sound of her voice, Hinata said quietly as she sped to the Hokage Tower to see how she was needed. At the Hokage Tower, a group of shinobi was already waiting for the last person to arrive, and some had already figured out who it was. Sakura was pacing in the office with an annoyed look on her face, Kakashi was in a corner reading his book, and Yamato was talking quietly to the Hokage. Kiba was getting annoyed with each passing second as he saw the members of Team 7 and Shino stood calmly and ready to intercept if the Inuzuka tried anything. Kiba, your face is going to stay that way if you continue, a cold, mocking voice said from the window. Smirking at the obvious anger the dogman had, and it was more amusing since he couldn't do anything. Watch your mouth, Uchiha, Kiba growled with clenched teeth as he glared at Sasuke, who moved his eyes from him to the door. Sniffing quickly, the Inuzuka heir knew who it was and smiled that he saw her after all this time. Sorry I'm late, Hokage-sama, I was in. Hinata stopped cold what she was saying and took a good look around. The people that she avoided for over a year were in the same room that she was. Hokage-sama, we had a deal, she said, anger clearly on her soft and sweet voice. I'm sorry, Hinata, but what you were doing was foolish, and besides, this mission is important enough to be filled by Junin only, Tsunade said in a sage voice as she stared at the Hyuga in front with defiant eyes that dared the foolish girl say something. Well, let's hear it, and then make my decision of going, Hinata said as she crossed her arms and waited the debriefing of the mission. Who said I'm giving you a choice? Either you accept the mission now or you don't hear about it. Neji would be my choice, but I sent him on a mission 5 minutes ago and I don't think he would push himself to find a certain blonde. Tsunade said as she looked at the stunned girl. She knew that if she mentioned something about Naruto she'd come. I'll go, even if I have to work with these people, Hinata said predictably and ignored the offended and annoyed faces in the room. These people, Sasuke said uncaringly as to clarify the comment. He didn't have anything against the girl, but she didn't know him either. Giving her knowing look when she looked at him, he continued to look outside. What's with the look, Uchiha? Hinata said threateningly. How dare you to give me that look, you think you understand? She was interrupted by a grunt of said Uchiha, and Sakura was about to step in to throw her 2 cents when. Enough, Sakura, save your comment, and Hinata. Please or try, Tsunade said almost pleadingly at the heiress and looked at the other in the room. This is going to be difficult. Where's my sake? She said, massaging her temples. Don't worry, Hokage-sama. We'll keep an eye on them. About the mission, Kakashi said, quickly changing subject, and everyone's eyes were on the Hokage. Right, our sources gave us information about one Naruto Uzumaki yesterday afternoon. He was spotted in the border of Iwagakure, Tsunade said, getting the attention of the entire group, shock evident on their faces. Naruto-kun, Hinata whispered in hope. You want us to track him down? I think we remember his scent, Kakashi said, looking at the Inuzuka, who glared but nodded. Naruto, you're not going anywhere. There's no way you could beat us all. The mission begins in an hour, get ready and please be careful. Dismissed, Tsunade said and smiled as emotion of hope was spread through the room. Cave in Iwagakure. The place was dark and humid, but when you were outside it was dry. The odd combination wasn't surprising in these parts of the nation, and that's why the group of shinobi present chose it. 4 shinobi at around the large-sized cave waiting for the last member of the group. I wonder when is he coming back, a large figure said, the biggest member of the group, named Doki and had a slashed Iwagakure Hite 8. He'll come, you know that's his specialty and wants to do a good job, a rough voice said in a corner. On his back were 2 long swords and had half his face in bandages, having his mouth covered. On his forehead was a slashed Sanagakure Hite 8, his name was Kazuru. He better do a good job. I think I would be faster, a grave voice said in another corner. His skin was a pale green with yellow eyes. On his bicep a slashed Kusagakure Hite 8, his name Kusamaru. Patience guys, besides he's here, an emotionless voice said from the center of the cave and moved his head to the entrance. In the entrance of the cave a figure appeared with a smirk on his face. I didn't know I irritated you so much, Kukuku, a spine-chilling voice said as he adjusted something on H's face. You're no going to like this, he said, referring to the figure in the middle of the cave. Amuse me, the man said, serious, and opened his eyes, and everyone shuddered at the 2 blocks of ice that stared at the standing man. Cuckoo, you're in the bingo book but as a B-rank threat, the man said, smirking as he handed the book full of criminals and potentially dangerous shinobi. That's just Ba-chan trying to protect me, but at the same time people will come at me for an easy catch. Money is money. Even better if it's easy, the sitting man said as he observed the page he was in. People will not respect me if I'm some pathetic B-rank shinobi. I think I'll have to fix that, he said, getting up and looked around to his companions, a weird group but had its purposes. Good, I was itching for a good fight, Doki said, flexing his muscles and smirking. Kazuru smirked and Kusamaru just shook his head, knowing the people that stood in their leader's way. Let's just say they would be resting peacefully. Good job, Kabuto, the leader said, directing his cold blue eyes at the spy specialist. Meeting his gaze were two yellow-slitted eyes, the eyes of Orochimaru. A pleasure, Naruto-kun, Kuku, Kabuto said, bowing and adjusted his glasses with a smirk. Come, we're going to Iwa. And change my rank, Naruto said, smirking as he got out of the cave and jumped to the trees leading to his future. The village was simply put enormous, hidden in large rocks and mountains. Iwagakure stood mightily proud. Home of ruthless, unstoppable shinobi, suicide awaited the fool and a good challenge to the strong. A group of 5 people stood watching the village in a small hill on the northeastern side of the village where mountains could cover them from the night. 2 figures started to move and set up camp as 3 stayed in the same place, looming at the potentially dangerous village. Okay, Kusamaru, you should check for anything that might cause harm in our little entrance tomorrow. I know for a fact that just like Konoha they're very protected, Naruto said in a cool voice as the pale green man melted in the ground. A reason I chose him for this, he thought as he fixated his eyes on the biggest member of his group. Doki, you're going to distract everyone with you abilities, also since you're a rogue from said village? Yeah, I get to destroy a few, right? Some had it coming, Doki said, awaiting the affirmation of his leader. I don't want to anger him again, he thought with a shudder. Do what you must, just keep them occupied, Naruto said, and noticed Kazuru's risen arm. What is it? He asked the ex-sand shinobi. Could I help with the distraction? I mean, he's strong and has an impressive gift, but alone he'll die quickly, Kazuru said, reasoning with his leader. You're right, yes, help him. Kabuto and Kusamaru will help me take down his guards, Naruto said, and his eyes shifted dangerously at the laughing form of Doki. Don't get me wrong, you 3 combined are strong, but the Tsuchikage's guards are almost unbeatable, Doki said, and for once he didn't quiver from the look of the Jinchuriki's eyes. Don't question my abilities, Doki, remember last time? Naruto threatened. Kabuto and Kusamaru should take 2 each and I'll take down the cage. Sounds simple but it won't be, Naruto said. I'll do a few things as well that'll make it even easier, he thought. Sheesh, Naruto, couldn't you be any more arrogant, Kazuru said, smiling at the serious expression of the man before all 3 of them exploded laughing, and Kabuto had a face of pure confusion. Yeah, keep acting like this and I'll try to believe it as well, Doki said with laughter in his voice. It's just a small prank, don't take it seriously, he directed his gaze to Kabuto. Sorry Kabuto, but this isn't the way I act at all. I'm still the same dumbass from all those years ago, Naruto said, smiling as he gazed at Kabuto, but that gaze turned to confusion when he saw Kabuto smirking. The same? Well, you're telling me that I didn't join the guy that in one night defeated the mighty Kakashi, 4 squats of Anbu, and managed to escape Madara Uchiha. Kabuto narrated the events he saw that night. I was going to talk to you that fateful night when suddenly you were fighting your former teacher in Anbu. I followed you and I was impressed at the seal level you were, and then more Anbu and Madara. How do you know all of this? I didn't even sense you, Naruto protested. I know I felt everyone that day, the Kumo shinobi, Yamato. But not once him, he thought with obvious concern. I've been watched all day. You don't have to worry about not sensing me. I have surpassed my former master as well. It's not surprising that you didn't sense me, Kabuto said, adjusting his glasses. He had the urge to laugh at the Jinchuriki's face, but he knew that the boy was way stronger than he was. Did he saw me with the Rinnegan? Naruto thought, worried. None in this group has seen it, and the later they knew the better. He was about to ask what he saw when. I'm waiting for you to show me the thing you showed Madara that day, Kabuto said, looking levelly at Naruto, who widened his eyes. It scared him for a moment. And to scare an immortal man you need something powerful, he emphasized. Good he didn't notice, Naruto thought with relief. That comes in time, Kabuto. We need to keep a lookout for Kusamaru. After he arrives we'll formulate a plan," he said, setting his face and manners on serious mode. "Sure." Kabuto smirked and the other nodded. "Naruto-kun. What do you hide? If any luck I'll see it tomorrow," he thought, smirking still, while similar thought lingered in the minds of the others as well. Konoha Forest a few miles before Valley of Ends. Jumping from branch to branch and trees from tree, the group of Konoha shinobi made way to Iwagakure's border where their friend was spotted. Everyone was having hope of finding the missing shinobi for personal reasons. Hinata obviously wanted the love of her life near her. Kakashi wanted to see all his students in one place. Sakura wanted to apologize and maybe something more. Shino and Kiba had basically the same reason. Hinata, if Naruto was home she would be back to her old self. Tension was in the group. Each step brought more memories of the blonde, memories that they'd like to forget for some and good memories to those who treated him nicely. "We'll camp for the night in that cave," Kakashi said, pointing at a cave at the base of a lonely mountain near a river. "We are a few days from the border since it takes 4 days to get there," he said as he walked calmly to the spot. "We need to move at top speed to reach there faster. 4 days can take Naruto-kun anywhere," Hinata said forcefully. The thought of being separated from the blonde of her dreams was hard to take. "But we need every chakra we have," Sakura intervened. "We still don't know if Naruto will fight us." She was interrupted by a yell from the Hyuga heir. "He wouldn't fight us," Hinata yelled in anger. He knows that this specific group cares about him and, she also was interrupted but not by Sakura. "That's enough, you two are both correct. We must get there in time, but slow enough will get us apart from our target," Yamato said seriously. "And Hinata, no one here doubts that you care about Naruto. But you have to face reality. He vanished because he felt unloved. He would fight because we're taking him to the same place he wanted to leave," he said sagely at the girl who took a moment before nodding. "Now Yamato, how about some protection?" Kakashi said, and the wood user did some head signs and wood pillars rose from the ground in different directions and shapes around the perimeter. "Nicely done. Everyone try and sleep, we'll be going to run until we fall." "Hi," every shinobi said as they made their way to the cave to have a nice sleep. Hinata felt someone stare at her. Turning around she saw Sasuke looking at her just like all those times before. Was it pity? Sadness? But it was something the heiress didn't like. "I don't think I'd be a good wife to you, Uchiha," Hinata said coldly, activating her Byakugan at the same time in an intimidating manner. "Hun, your intimidation techniques need more work, Hyuga. Being my wife would not satisfy me either, you're too fluffy," Sasuke said equally cold but teasingly. "I see me, the old me in your character, Hyuga. And not everyone will accept you, especially those who matter," he said in a lecture-like tone and walked away, leaving a fuming Hinata behind. "Uchiha, you and I are nothing alike," Hinata said in a furious voice and jumped to attack as she saw the plain look the black-haired boy gave her. Dodging her chakra palms, Sasuke gave Sakura a meaningful look to stay away. Without activating his Sharingan, Sasuke grabbed both of her hands and simply pushed her away and felt two people behind him, and he knew perfectly who they were. "Kiba, Shino," Sasuke said monotonously like nothing happened. "Uchiha," Shino said in an equal tone while the Inuzuka growled as well as his dog. "Please don't do that again," he said simply while adjusting his glasses, but the meaning was there and the Uchiha almost laughed. "I don't know why you care, she doesn't see you two as friends anymore," Sasuke said coldly as he looked at the Hyuga heir, who was shocked to have been pushed so easily. "Weakling," he deadpanned and calmly strolled off. Iwagakure. Morning struck relatively early for Naruto's group. Naruto rose up quickly and walked to the edge of the mountainside they were staying at and took a look at the slowly waking village. Smiling to himself, he walked back to his already waking companions and sat down on a piece of rock and waited for them to finish. After half an hour, all 5 shinobi were heading down a path that led to a part of the village's north gate. "Do as planned," Naruto ordered, and everyone scattered. Naruto stayed walking in the same direction, taking full trust in his new group. "They know the fate that awaits them if they betray me," he thought unpleasantly. He never wanted to be a killer, only if he had to, but these years he learned a few things and some were learned the hard way. He stopped a few meters away from the gate and grabbed a scroll from his pouch. Unrolling it, he saw the kanjis for person in 6 places. "These. I wouldn't be using these, but," he thought as he channeled some chakra and smoke. Meanwhile Kabuto, Kusamaru, Kazuru and Doki arrived at their locations and waited the signal their leader talked about. "You'll see it," he said. All of them were thinking along the lines of, they better recognized it or else, the leader won't be happy. Doki readied himself and gathered as much chakra as he could without alerting the guards while Kazuru drawed his swords and channeled a bit of chakra in them. Kusamaru melted in the ground smirking all the way and Kabuto only bit his thumb. Naruto on the other hand was standing in a small clearing with mysterious figures behind him. "I know Gamakichi won't fit in this place, but I wonder," he thought with a smile. Biting his thumb and making some signs he thought, summoning, a giant cloud of smoke and a medium-sized Gamabunta stood in the clearing, broken trees all around the toad. "Huh, Naruto?" Gamakichi said, his voice more deep than the Jinchuriki remembered. Naruto jumped on his head and shushed him. "Quiet, you're going to alert the guards," Naruto said in a low voice that only the summon itself could hear. "I know it's been a long time and I'll give you treats next time and all, but I need for you to throw some oil blast at the air in that direction," Naruto said pointing at the village's walls. Naruto, that's a village," Gamakichi said sounding confused and slightly edgy. Naruto never seemed like the guy to attack people out of the blue. "I know, it's a mission Kichi. I want 6 of those blasts. I'll do the rest," Naruto said as he smirked playfully at his longtime toad summon. Gamakichi still didn't like the idea of doing this but he was ordered to do so by his summoner. He shot 6 oil blasts through the air pointing at the village. The blast of oil were in the village's zone and Naruto got 6 kunai with bomb tags on each and threw them at the falling balls of oil. The effect was instantaneous. Seeing massive shadows lingering above their village, the guards sounded the alarm that went off in the entire village. But the gate guards didn't expect those massive shadows to turn into fire and they waited for the inevitable. Naruto smirked as he saw the falling balls of fire, knowing that even if they used earth-style jutsus the damage would be great still. "Fan out. Knock everyone out that oppose you. Do not kill," Naruto said turning to the figures that disappeared at the moment he said the last word. "The one killing is going to be me," he thought as he walked calmly to the gates. Activating his Rinnegan he put a pair of sunglasses. "I don't want anyone to know I have it yet. If anyone asks I'll say it's to look cool," he chuckled at the lame excuse. "Look at that," Doki said amazed at seeing the falling flames and knew that was the signal to move in, of course distracting everyone and, pretty good, he thought as he made some seals. "Hee, some entrance, but nice plan," Kazuru said and he climbed the walls calmly. "Impressive Naruto-kun. Drawing the enemy's eye while reinforcements get unnoticed," Kabuto said as he planted his hand on the ground and a giant green snake rose intent clearly on destroying everything. Hee, Naruto sure like to show off. "I need to locate him," Kusamaru said as he watched the blast colliding with houses and building. Standing behind a water tank on top of a building he heard the screams of terror and agony. He suddenly ducked as he saw Shinobi landing on the same roof as him. This will be easy. Watching the terror, desperation and hearing the screams of agony his heart wanted no less than help them. Once he sworn to protect people that suffer but the leader of this village had it coming, at least there wouldn't be causalities like in Konoha after the Akatsuki attack. He stopped walking when 3 squads of Anbu appeared on the rooftops glaring at him. He presumed. "That's odd, they haven't attacked," Naruto thought on edge and felt someone behind him and smirked as the person behind him shoved a katana to his back, all the way through. "Hee, that was easy," the shinobi said wearing a mask declaring himself an Anbu elite when the impaled person turned to mud. "Substitution," he thought in panic as he started feeling a slight pain on the back of his head before darkness consumed him. "That was easy," Naruto said correcting the unconscious shinobi as he felt shock running from the others. "Well, if that's everything this village has to offer, then my goal would be easy," he said in a mocking tone before all of the Anbu attacked him at once, which made the blonde Jinchuriki smirk. "Fools." On the other side of the village Doki had his hands full with a party of Chunin and Junins. He stood head raised as if proud of himself while the Iwa shinobi looked at him in disgust. Some of them drawed their weapons while others started to make hand seals. "Time to have some fun," Doki said as he let out a huge amount of chakra enough to make all of them shiver and looked at the Rouge with fear. Doki smirked and clasped his palms. His entire body seemed to absorb the earth that he stood on. Sensing the imminent danger, the shinobi threw weapons and some jutsu and were amazed that the huge man didn't baited an eyelash when this happened. Getting the bull's eye as everything launched hit their mark, they almost celebrated, almost. Doki stood smirking in the same place. He had not moved an inch. The massive man started making hand seal much faster than the others in Earth style. Terra uprising, he yelled as the area they were standing erupted upwards, scattering debris everywhere. Hee, I told you it was going to be fun. Doki laughed, but he was silenced abruptly when he saw a man land in front of him and withdrew his sword. He widened his eyes when his earth-made body crumbled to the ground. You were a fool, Doki, coming here was suicide, the man said and started to walk away when he sensed something below him. Jumping, he saw an arm was about to grab him. Looking at the form his former comrade, he was in shock. Doki was getting up. I'm not the same weakling as before. Doki grinned as his body parts came to him, reforming his body. Kazuru was having a tremendous time. Fighting every shinobi he found was almost impossible. He opted to go as fast as he could and find Doki. He soon was surrounded by chunins by the looks of it, and they were mad, amusing. He readied his swords and prepared to at least wound them enough for them to stop. Well, this is interesting, huh? Kazuru said, and then he heard an explosion and looked back, and that was a mistake. Looking up front again, she saw all the chunin within arm's reach. Shit, he thought in panic. Jumping backwards, he raised his swords and blocked two kunai that were ready to stab him while he rotated and kicked a ninja in the gut. He kept the defensive maneuvers while thinking, I got distracted, but that explosion wasn't supposed to happen. Blocking close-range attacks, but was more concerned about long-range. That's until he saw a gutsy chunin flash through some seals and spark flying everywhere. Lighting style. Skipping thunder. The chunin yelled and lighting shot from the tips of his 5 fingers and went to the rouge, hitting the ground multiple times. Like when you throw a rock in the lake. That's an A-rank ninjutsu. Time to get a bit serious, Kazuru thought as he channeled chakra to his blades, and in multiple swipes he destroyed any weapons thrown at him. Seeing the lightning coming at him, he smirked. Slashing wind, Kazuru moved his sword upright and swung them at the chunins. The wind attack easily cut through the lightning and kept going until finding a stop as it cut the chunin down. Shit, I think I killed him. Naruto's going to be pissed, Kazuru whispered as he readied himself for more attacks, but saw the shock on the chunins' faces. My opportunity to take them down is now, he thought, and disappeared. Kusamaru smirked toothily as he watched every single shinobi that faced Naruto were being defeated so easily that the XKUSA ninja was beginning to wonder if his leader was human. Shinobi were being knocked out 2 or 3 at a time, but he widened his eyes as he felt something nearing him. A volley of kunai and shuriken struck him before melting into a pile of mud. Taking a peek from the ground, he saw 2 junin land on the spot he was in, and to his surprise they were looking at the spot he was in now. Well, they sure are interesting, Kusamaru thought as he rose from the ground and stared at the 2 shinobi in front of him. So you've been able to sense me, interesting, he said, smirking as the toe junins narrowed their eyes. You'll die here, scumbag, one junin said as the other made seriously fast seals. Fire style. Fireball, as the fireball drew closer to the rouge when. Earth style. Rising spikes, and a path made out of spikes made its way to the junins, also destroying the fire attack from below. Seeing the same shinobi doing seals again, Kusamaru reached inside his robe and pulled grass. That won't do much, the first junin said as he grabbed a sledgehammer from his back and started spinning it. You'll die in a few seconds, he said while the rouge nin smirked. Fire style. Fire dragon missile. A blazing dragon-shaped fireball went straight to the spikes, destroying them, but it didn't stop there. Releasing the grass on his palm and on the other just holding a hand sign, ninja arts. Grassblade projectile. In every single piece of grass sharpened themselves and diverted from the fire attack, spreading in 2 parties to attack the toe shinobi at the same time. Kusamaru dodged just in time the fire attack and made some more seals, and the grass around him little as it was came to him. The toe junin dodged the projectiles coming at them, but the sharpened grass kept coming, and in that distracting moments Kusamaru smirked. Ninja arts. Grass shower. And a giant ball of grass exploded and millions of grass blades started to circle the 2 junin in a fast pace, and before any of them could do anything the grass fell on them, scratching, cutting and stabbing. The 2 junin were almost buried in a pile of grass. If I wanted I could have killed you, be grateful to our leader, Kusamaru said in his grave low tone. At least you follow orders, a voice said from above him. Looking up, Kusamaru saw Naruto on top of a building looking at his work. Naruto saw the grass man jump to the roof. It makes me look cool, don't you think? Naruto answered the unasked question his friend was about to say. Maybe, Kusamaru said cautiously, nice job back there. Thanks, Naruto said as they began to head to the Tsuchikage's building. This was the most fun he had in a while, even more than that fight he had with Naruto when they met back a year ago. The fight he had with the boy turned out to be brutal. It left him in the border of death because of exhaustion of his body and chakra depletion. He was having a hell of a time, but difficult, not allowed to kill anyone, just disable them. It was amusing to see his summon destroyed so quickly, but those who were responsible got a piece of what it's like to be grabbed by a snake, their bodies broken but alive. Kabuto landed on the street and was quickly surrounded by two squads composed of Junin and Chunins. Smirking a sadistic one, he lifted his own kusanagi and prepared to attack when. Who the hell are you? Kabuto asked, angered that the new arrival was giving him the back when clearly he didn't know the person. Kabuto-san, leave this to me, the man said, not even turning back at Kabuto. Kabuto on the other hand was getting angrier at the disrespect the guy was giving him. Who was this guy to ruin his fun? If you have doubts, simply look at our robes. Why do you have said robe? Kabuto asked, a bit on edge seeing the swirl on the back. This guy could have killed one of our companions, he thought, and the man finally turned. What? Now do you believe? The man said. His face was like Naruto's but paler and grim. Glasses and even the whiskers were there. I'm one of Naruto's 6 clones who have gone a few alterations. You can call me Demon Realm. Right, Kabuto said as he jumped away. Looking back, he saw the weird clone do something and various explosions happened. Smirking, the improved version of the snake Sanin kept jumping while thinking, you've been naughty, Naruto-kun. How many secrets you have left, he thought, and let a chuckle escape his throat. Landing on a clearing, he saw his enormous comrade Doki fighting someone who was very skilled in kenjutsu, but with Doki's abilities it wouldn't matter. The swordsman kept attacking while Doki merely dodged or blocked. It seems the kenjutsuist was tired while Doki wasn't. The XI was shinobi grabbed the incoming attack with both hands and kicked the man quite roughly in the chest, making him spill out blood and crash on a pillar that was thrown earlier in the fight with a sickening sound. Doki stretched his arm and it launched at the struggling shinobi. Expanding itself, the stone hand trapped the ninja in the pillar, rendering him useless. Nice, Kabuto said as he approached. The guy was doomed from the start, I presumed. Yeah, he was strong but nowhere near my level, Doki said, jumping with the renewed snake man to find the cage's tower. Jumping several buildings, they stopped to see an entire street with almost 30 or so unconscious shinobi. Suddenly a figure showed on a roof sheathing 2 swords on his back. I guess we found Kazuru, Kabuto said while Doki nodded, jumping to where he was. The ex-Suna ninja looked at them with a bored stare. It's about time. I thought you were going to stare at the scene all day, Kazuru said roughly as he looked at the distance where a powerful killing intent was radiating. That's the cage, Doki confirmed at the looks from the others. I'd sense him anywhere. Let's go, Naruto must be waiting, he said, jumping to the direction of the menacing chakra. The 3 of them kept jumping in a fast pace from roof to roof and getting more confused with each step. No one had attacked them, but looking closely they saw many, if not all, shinobi were either unconscious or dead. Arriving at the roof of a building that gave a complete frontal view of the Tsuchikage's tower, they saw the streets full of Iwagakure's shinobi, all knocked out or struggling to stay conscious. The 3 Rouges stood in shock since there was no way a single man could do this. Enjoying the sight, Naruto's voice came at them from behind. I've been waiting for almost 10 minutes, he said in annoyance as he walked to the edge of the roof. Did you do this? Kazuru said in a low tone, almost whispering, his voice about to fail him. If he did, then he's undefeatable. No, they did, Naruto said, smiling, a fox's grin pointing ahead. Out of nowhere 6 figures appeared of different buildings at the distance. It's a technique I've developed, not using actual dead bodies but shadow clones with a few jutsus and seals, he said proudly. I'm killing you all, a powerful voice roared through the vast silence the attacking group created. All of the sudden shinobi rained around the tower. Enbo appeared flanking their position, said to dare attack them. At the top of the building 5 figures appeared. In the middle stood the Tsuchikage, robes and hat, with him at his sides 4 shinobi with also menacing looks. Let's move a bit further, Naruto said, jumping, his companions following behind. Getting a bit too close, a few kunai were shot to warn them to not advance anymore. The 6 figures walked calmly to Naruto's side as if waiting an order. Tsuchikage, your village is weak, Naruto said in a taunting manner as he smiled at the leader of the village and his companions. The blonde's new group was looking at him like he was crazy and knew that hell was going to break loose very soon.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.